It's been almost 1 week since I graduated from college, and I am still in a major slump. From unpacking all my stuff to just being so tired and all the social events that I've done in the last few weeks of college, there is so much to recover from. So in order to get my spark back, as it were, I have lined up a to be read pile that I want to tackle to try and reignite my love for reading. Don't get me wrong, I still do love reading. Before you're like, oh my gosh, what? No, I love reading. However, I'm just in a slump and I just don't really want to pick up a book. And that's really sad for me because I do love reading and there are so many books that I do want to read now that I have time. So the books in the lineup, first off, we have Happiness for Beginners by Katherine. This is the last Katherine book sitting on my shelf that I have yet to read. I am currently on chapter 11, which is page 160. I did watch the movie for this that is on Netflix, and the movie was okay, and so I was kind of like, ooh, I'm kind of scared for the book, but I am enjoying my time with it so far. However, I'm trying to ignore the age gap between the two main characters because I'm just not a big fan of the age gap, especially when the man is the younger one. So that's just not my cup of tea. Barring that fact, this book is really good, and I am slowly starting to desire to pick it up instead of just doom scrolling or just watching a bunch of TV, which is fine in moderation, except when that's all I've been doing. I know there are other better things that I could be reading. And then I thought maybe a little bit of romantasy would kind of help get me back into that zeal that I have for reading. So I want to read Rites of the Starling. You guys saw that I bought this book in my last video, and I'm super duper excited to read it. I just need to reread book 1 to kind of fully remember what happened before I dive into book 2. But I know there's gonna be a third book, and I'm like, do I really want to go ahead and read these when I'm gonna have to wait like a whole year to get book 3? Not my preference, but sometimes a good cliffhanger can, spark that desire to keep reading. I'm excited to finally start enjoying my time with books again. So I'm going to try and finish this book maybe today. We shall see. I'm halfway through, so I think I could if I really dedicate myself to it. So I've got my reading nook, I've got my book, and let's get to reading, shall we? Okay, I feel my spark coming back. Okay, so I just finished Happiness for Beginners by Katherine. So good. Honestly, I think I might give it a 4.5. It's not quite a 5-star just because, again, I'm not a fan of the age gap romance, but I was trying to ignore that fact and just picture them as a similar age in my mind, or at least maybe not just a 10-year age gap. Honestly, I think this was the perfect post-college read because it's talking a lot about happiness and, you know, what happiness is and what it's not. Also, there's a lot of self-growth in this book. I think the book is infinitely better than the movie. The movie was a fun little time, but the book is so much better. Oh my goodness. And I do want to read one of the quotes from the epilogue. It says, "After all, life will hand each one of us our fair share of despair and loss and suffering, and then some. That's certain. But just as certain, it will also give us slices of chocolate cake and sunny 72-degree days and breezes that rustle the trees. Good things are so easy to overlook, but that doesn't make them any less there. A forgotten song will come on the radio. A stranger will help you change a flat. A lady walking by will love your red scarf. A mistake will turn out to be a blessing. An old friend will forgive you. A new friend will make you laugh." And I just thought that was so beautiful. So yeah, I think final rating is 4.5, and I would definitely read this again. Part of being an English major means coming home with lots and lots of books that you now have to find space for on your already packed bookshelves. So I have a giant stack of books that need to find homes on my shelves. You know, what better way to enjoy the life of books again than to pretend to be a librarian and, you know, rehome some books. I also came home with new books that I just haven't had on my shelves before. So like Rites of the Starling does not have a place. The Will of the Many doesn't have a place. Like, I'm quite literally running out of space. Okay, I've got a empty cart, a giant stack of books that needs to go on my TBR cart is what this is going to be now that I'm actually fully moved out and this doesn't have to come back to college with me because there is no more college. I have so many fat classics. Oh my goodness. Like, we've got Don Quixote, we've got Brother Karamazov, we've got Les Miserables, we've got the Decameron. Like, all of these are chunky classics, man. And I've got more. Good grief. We're already kind of full, and yet I still have so many more. So we have 45 books on the physical TBR, which is insane. My goal is to finish at least 20 of them by the end of the summer. Will I be able to do it? We shall see. Honestly, I might just kind of skim read this just so I can remember the major plot points. Because now that I'm here, I really don't feel like rereading this. I might change my mind once I actually dive in, but at this point I'm kind of just ready to get to Rites of the Starling. Hello, welcome to the reading nook in its coziest form. We have the sunset lamps on. It makes for a really great reading atmosphere, reading vibe, just, you know, all the things. I started reading Rites of the Starling. I am only on page 21. So we're making such good progress. We're getting introduced to a new character. Also, this book is written from a dual POV, which kind of scarred from when we got a dual POV in Allegiant, and Divergent and Insurgent were both solo POVs. So anytime I see that, I'm like, oh, somebody's gonna die, and I'm scared. Could just be a choice that the author made, but I don't know. And so now I'm kind of cautious about that. So far, I'm kind of confused, I'm not gonna lie. I did manage to kind of skim the last like 50 pages of Shield of Sparrows, but I'm really thrown off by the prologue of the book because I'm confused if this happens. I know obviously prologue is before, but I'm confused if this happened before Shield of Sparrows or if this happens for Rites of the Starling. We seem to be following the end of book 1 into book 2, so there's not like a time jump really. So I'm a little bit confused to where the prologue fits in, but other than that, I mean, I don't have much to say. I'm 20 pages in, so, you know, there's not much to go on. But honestly, I don't know. I'm just not feeling the romantasy fantasy vibe. Like, I'm kind of into the romance lately, and I think maybe the world building and everything is just like a little bit too much for me right now. I also have been wanting to read this, so I'm thinking maybe I just need to wait until tomorrow until I haven't finished a book in the same day to give myself a little break to like rest and reset from finishing a book. Good morning, everybody. I'm currently baking muffins because I thought, what better way to kind of enjoy life than a baked good? So I'm making gluten-free chocolate chip muffins. I was gonna make pumpkin muffins, but I don't know if we have any pumpkin at the moment. At least I couldn't find it. So if a book has dual POV, I think I prefer each POV to be written in third person as opposed to first person, because when I'm in somebody's head, it kind of becomes difficult to switch between perspectives, especially if you have multiple men or women included in the different POVs. So like, for example, so far we have 2 women and 1 man as a POV, and I'm kind of getting stuck in the women's POVs because I'm struggling to like remember who is who. And so I do think that writing it in third person would have been better. However, obviously the book's already written, so there's not really anything you could do about that. Welcome back. It's currently Saturday night. I am 137 pages into Rites of the Starling. I ended up switching to the audiobook. Shout out Libby, because there was no wait time for the audiobook, so I was able to just get it right away. Fabulous. Love that. So that has helped me get into the story a lot more. I think I'm just not fully in a fantasy mood yet. I really loved the Katherine Center book I read. I think that was great. It was still in the contemporary world, so I think that was just a nice time. I just think because it's been so much world building that we didn't get in book 1, and it's building on it, which is natural for fantasy, and it's no fault of this book or fantasy in general. It's just me not really wanting to take in more information that was kind of hindering me from really getting into the book. And I know other people have said the start is a little bit slower, so the audiobook is just helping me really get into the story. And if at any point I feel like I want to pick up the physical book again, I obviously can, but for right now I think the audiobook is doing a fantastic job. There's 3 narrators, which just makes for a really unique experience, and I think it kind of helps solve the issue I was having of not really remembering whose POV I'm in. And so the 2 different female narrators really help. And then it's really cool because the male narrator will narrate the male lines. So that's just a whole other added layer of fun to the book. Okay, cake review. Ooh, okay. She looks good. She's a little bit dense in the middle, but okay. Nice test. That's good. That is so good. I started Brighter Than Before by Courtney Walsh. She is one of my favorite romance authors. She writes clean romances, so that's always nice because I don't have to skip over anything when I'm reading. But this is one of her traditionally published books. She publishes independently and traditionally. I do struggle a bit more getting her independently published arcs, but I mean, that's fair. I am excited that I got a copy of her book. I am 18% in, and these are just a fun time. This one follows a woman who is recently divorced, and she moves from Colorado to Chicago to kind of, start over and rediscover herself apart from her marriage. So I really enjoy these types of books where it's like nonfiction principles in a fiction setting, because I think it makes the nonfiction aspect of it more digestible and you kind of get to see it play out as opposed to just reading like, oh, this is what you should do and blah, blah, blah. So I do like that, and I do think fiction kind of acts, as I mentioned in my thesis defense, I think fiction acts as a step toward a greater truth. And it's also just more enjoyable for me, at least, to read. So I do like that she's kind of focusing on life lessons and how to live life well. And I like that she kind of focuses on that. I read like 15% of it really fast. So I think that's a good sign that at least I'm able to fly through what I am reading, as opposed to getting stuck on things that I'm liking or not liking. Bro, how did I not pick up on this? No. Devney Perry is wild for this. Oh my god, I feel so stupid. That explains a lot. 30 pages left. Wait! No, that's reaction. Stop, I'm gonna cry. Because that's still one of the things we just don't know. No. This is not good. This is not good. This is very much not good. You've got to be kidding me. I think I'm having an existential crisis. Guys, that was so good. That is just cruel. That is cruel and unusual punishment. Okay, well, it's the next morning, and after you witnessed my crash out last night, I finally have some thoughts for you. I think my rating is going to be 4.25, which is kind of obscure, I know, but it just feels right. It wasn't quite a 4-star, but it's not quite 4.5, because 4.5 is like, wow, this was so good. There's just like one or two little things that were keeping me from a full 4.5, but it's also better than a 4-star. So it's kind of a weird rating, but that's just what feels right. And I think also if I hadn't switched to the audiobook, I would have had a lower rating, but because I did end up switching pretty early on, that helped me get through the slow bits and enjoy the slow parts a little bit more than I probably would have just reading, because the book did start off kind of slow. I do think obviously all the world building and everything that we got was essential for the next book, but I think the book had a little bit of second book syndrome, so it was just a little bit harder to get through. I do think it did help me kind of want to go and read more fantasy books, which is good because I haven't really been in a fantasy mood lately. I will say the ending, since this video is me getting my spark back, I think it helped me, feel something again other than just like complete nothingness, because your girl was in tears. Not full-blown tears, but the eyes were definitely misting. I think the next book that I'm going to pick up, besides finishing my Courtney Walsh book, is A Magnificently Ordinary Romance by Celia Martínez. This is a poetry collection. It's her most recent collection that she's published. I've read her other two that she has, and I really enjoy them. But I mean, this is super short. It's less than 200 pages, so I should be able to get through it fairly quickly. I had a lovely time spent outside reading, and I managed to read half of A Magnificently Ordinary Romance. Really loving it so far. My hopeless romantic self is inwardly screaming and crying, but you know, it's fine. And then my other reading update is for Brighter Than Before. I am 38% of the way through this one. This one is like a NetGalley arc, so at least when I switch it over to Kindle, it doesn't have page numbers. Really enjoying this one, although I will say it's kind of odd reading from the perspective of someone who's twice my age. We just got back from strawberry picking. Ah! Dude, these strawberries are so good. Better than any store-bought strawberry you've ever had in your life. Well, 2 weeks later, we went from being so burnt out that I didn't want to pick up a book to having read 4 books in 2 weeks, which I think is pretty good. In a good week, I can probably read 4 books if I really try and I'm really just invested in the stories. Better yet, my love for reading has come back. So to recap, we started off with Katherine Zender's Happiness for Beginners, and I gave this a 4.5. Makes me super duper excited to read more of her work. This is my 8th Katherine Zender novel. I just absolutely fell in love with Helen's journey through this. I've come to love books that kind of have a nonfiction message, but that's presented in a fictional setting. So for this one, it was kind of teaching more of the positive outlook and how to be a more positive person and to look on the bright side of things. And instead of me reading a book where it's like, okay, yeah, do this, we're actually taken through someone's story as they're learning these things. And I think sometimes that could be a better method of delivery for a nonfiction message, as it were. Next, I read Rites of the Starling by Devney Perry, and I switched from the physical book to the audiobook until the end, but that was the best decision because I was just so into the audiobook. Different narrators really just made the story come to life, more so than me reading the physical text, which isn't the case for every book, but I think just because I was slowly getting back into a reading mindset, this was just the perfect way to read this book and more dense fantasy novel. So I gave this a 4.25 stars. I think that feels right because there were a few things that I was like, okay, like not loving that. It was a bit slow in the beginning, especially if I didn't switch to the audiobook. So 4.25 just felt right. Didn't love it as much as the first one, but as you saw, that ending was crazy. I was gonna give it a 4 initially, but because of the ending, I just had to add a 0.25, which I know is so silly. I'm like, I might as well round up to a 4.5, but it's just not quite there. And I know quarter star ratings are like so annoying, but like it's not quite a 4 and it's not quite a 4.5. Like it's just 4.25. That I finished is A Magnificently Ordinary Romance by Celia Martínez. I ended up giving this a 4.5 stars. And the last book that I finished is Brighter Than Before by Courtney Walsh. I also gave this one a 4.25 stars. Again, similar to the Katherine Zender book, I really like how Courtney kind of focused on a nonfiction message of kind of discovering yourself and who you are and trying new things and not being scared to try new things. And I really like how she presented that message through a fictional story. And this book releases on June 8th if you're curious to try it out. There were just a couple things that I wasn't a big fan of in this, but I think overall it was a really strong book. Nothing too crazy, it's just personal preference. And I hope you're discovering some new books that take you wonderful places. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!